First Oregon wine that won anything. You want to guess what
there was
it
something
was?
that won before that.
There was
like a really big
This
award.
was important.
Yeah, the big award.
The big award. The first big award. Anyone want to guess what the grape was? What wine it was?
I've heard this story.
Pinot Noir.
You've heard the story? Okay, so don't say anything. It was not Pinot Noir.
No.
No. I think it was Chardonnay.
Chardonnay?
No.
No.
It was Riesling.
Yay!
Because his family was German. So so by the time you're in the 20th century, you actually have an industry that's starting to develop in Oregon. But then in 1916,
What happened?
the good folks of Oregon decided to vote for prohibition 4 years before it actually became prohibition in the rest of the country. So they were kind of like definitely ahead of the curve. So in 1979, there is a wine competition that for some reason is called the Wine Olympics. Had 33 countries, maybe that was it. And David Lett had one of his Pinot Noirs in competition.
What year? Wait, did you say what year this
Yes, 1979.
I'm not a very good student.
And this Pinot Noir is placed within the top 10 in this competition amongst all these other Burgundies. There's also an Australian wine in there, but no one ever talks about that. So all the French people are like, what's Oregon? And then like, this is a place, where is Oregon? Because like, they don't know what Oregon is. It's nothing to them back then certainly in the wine world. It's confusing for the French, but one French person, Robert Duran, who's a big cheese in the Burgundy wine world. Mixing metaphors, calling them a big cheese in the wine world. I don't know. Jenny will tell me later. And he's fascinated by that. So he has a rematch of Burgundies again, blind tasting to see whether this was a fluke. And this time, the Irie wine comes second.
Second place.
Second place. So this kind of legitimizes Oregon Pinot. It's on the map. People are talking about it. They're writing about it, and realizing there is a place called
The most famous example of this type of soil in the Willamette Valley is called Willackenzie. And there are other marine sedimentary soils in the Willamette Valley. Willackenzie is kind of like the name, literally. Like he's English, which would be marine sedimentary, and his name is Martin, which would be Willackenzie. So sometimes those get all like mixed up and it gets confusing. But it's
called commune, which is the same as like a village, but they call it communes. They call them communes there, but you can think of it as like an area around a village. And there's 44 of these.
On the right village.
And that's what the Nuit Saint-Georges is. That's the name of the village.
That's the Burgundy that some of you are drinking.
Yeah.
So here's one section of Burgundy, right? And like there'd be a bunch of villages like this. There's a village, there's a village, there's a village, and so there's 44 of those. And on the, what was the label?
Well, on the label they put the name of the village, but if it comes from a single vineyard, they're now allowed to put the name of the vineyard on it, but it has to be smaller. It has to be significantly smaller.
12-point font.
Yeah, probably. There's a reason for that, because as you go up,
okay.
So there's another level here, which is attached to the commune village level, and that's the premier cru.
And if it's written on labels, usually as the number 1 with ER next to it, that just means premier cru. That's just shorthand. Premier cru.
And this will say the village it comes from, that it's premier cru, and the name of the vineyard.
Wait, because it's a Premier Cru vineyard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you so much.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, it has to come from a Premier Cru vineyard.
So I'm going to do a zoom in. That's what this is. It kind of looks like germs or bacteria.
Burgundy is all about where it comes from. This is all of these AOCs. It's about where that plot of land is, whether it's the big bit or the small bit, whether it's just a vineyard.